Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode of the On the Map Challenge on Ray County, Missouri. Today is April 1st and I've gone to pick up some seed and fertilizer from the co-op because we're about to pull the planter out of the shed and start planting corn and soybeans. Now, in the last episode, we left off in year one. We were around November or December, and then we skipped all the way into the next year, and it's now April. So in that time period, we picked up some new land, we bought some new equipment, and we've also done some renovating to the farm as well. So for this episode, I'm hoping we can finish all of our planting in these next couple days. We do have some rain coming around April 3rd, so we're going to have to work around the rain and try to get around 100 acres of corn and soybeans planted. But before we pull the planter out of the shed and fill it up with seed and just get right to it, I'm going to walk around the farm and also open the map, and I want to show you guys the fields we've picked up and the equipment we've also purchased. And I guess there's not a better spot than to start right here with this trailer. So we sold the 40-foot gooseneck trailer that I had, and we picked up this bumper pull, which is about a 20-foot trailer. And the reason I wanted a smaller trailer was obviously for like pallets like seed and fertilizer. But we can also haul these like the side-by-side or smaller implements without needing that huge gooseneck trailer. But we also picked up this 30-foot gooseneck trailer as well. And you may notice it has no ramps on the back. Well, that's because we're using this for just hauling hay. Because there's no way I'm hauling round bales of hay on that small trailer. So I figured we'd pick up a little bigger gooseneck trailer that we can use for just hauling hay bales. Then we also did clean out the hay barn at the back of the farm. We pulled the livestock trailer out and moved it under this shed. So I'm kind of calling this like the trailer shed because everything I've put in here so far has been like a trailer or like an implement like that. So I finally found a use for this shed. And we also did tidy up the farm a little bit. Like I said, we did some renovating, cleaned up some of the junk. Now there is some stuff still lying around that I probably should clean up, but I just haven't got to it yet. And then also, this is huge, I finally figured out how to finish drying all the corn in the bin. Some of the guys in the comments in the last episode finally helped me figure out that I had to move this propane tank over here and set it to distribute the propane because this bin ran out in around December and I didn't realize it. So we sold like a truckload of dried corn and it brought in like $20,000 per truckload. So we spent about $300,000 on buying our fields, but I'll show that off in 1 second. The main thing is that we finally finished drying all of our corn. We have 96,000 liters, and when the prices get good again in June, we're going to break the grain truck out and sell the rest of the dried corn. It took way longer than it ever should have to finish drying the rest of that corn. I just had to figure out how to work these bins, but now that I got it working, we should have no problem drying corn for the years to come. But around the bins over here, we also did clean out a little spot. I had to remove some of the field, but we have a little area back here to store 2 of our augers and also the grain head for the combine. Now I did go and pick up this unload auger. It was in the used market for like $1,800, so there was no way I was turning that offer down. And we have a way to unload the bins now. I think everything else is about the same as it was back in the winter. I just have been doing some maintenance, picked up the trailers, did some organizing around the farm, and I guess that's about it. So now we'll jump in the map and I'll show you guys the fields we picked up. So we bought 3 fields at the start of year 2, but we're also renting a field. So field number 4 right here was a little out of our budget, so I just decided to rent it for 1 year. And it's so cheap I really just couldn't turn it down, as well as these 3 fields. So we picked up field number 15, number 12, and number 20. Now you may notice field number 20 and 12 are both grass, and so is field number 4. So when I picked up field 20 and field 12, I drilled them in grass, and whenever I had rented out field number 4, I also drilled it in grass as well. So that happened in about March. So whenever we pick up some cattle, because we still do not have any, we will have some hay to cut so we can feed the cows. And then field number 15 is the last field we picked up. This is a pretty big field for us right now, and you can see we own like a good third of the map. Well, maybe not a third of the map, but the amount of land that we own is going up significantly. And I think I already mentioned it in a previous episode, but when we get later into this year and, well, into year 3 really, I want to look at some of these fields down here in the bottom corner because they are super cheap and they're all like really close together. So that could be something huge. But yeah, we picked up 3 fields. We actually own these 3, and the one we're renting. So in just 1 second, when we fire up the tractor, fill the planter up with seed, I think we're going to head down here to field number 15 and plant this in corn first. And all the fields that were soybeans last year will go in corn this year, and the fields that were corn last year will go in soybeans this year. So we've got 6 fields right here. 3 will go in corn, 2 will go in soybeans. So that kind of explains the crop rotation. And then obviously we have field 23, 26, and 30 that are wheat. Alright, so now that I got all that behind me, just figured I'd explain the crop rotation and everything for this year. So kind of knocked out 2 birds with 1 stone. We'll hop over here, we'll pull the tractor out, and we'll get right to it. And so I did say that we spent about $300,000 on buying fields. Well, we also spent about $15,000 or maybe even closer to $20,000 on maintenance. We've been fixing up a lot of our equipment that we used in the past year, and some of the equipment that was obviously left behind when we bought the farm was not in the best condition. One thing we did do was fix up the Magnum. It was having problems with the fuel pump, and we did put the, oh gosh, what do you even call it? Like we put the front wheels in. I'm not exactly sure what you call that, but they're back on 30-inch spacing so that we can pull the sprayer, because this did have like a low compaction width out where the front axle was out a little bit. So we fixed that as well, and the combine is actually in the shop right now getting the feeder house all fixed up. And also, I'm not real sure how we're going to unload that trailer. The co-op does have a forklift that we were able to use, but this is going to be a little different, having to back the skid steer up on the trailer to unload these, because obviously the fender's in the way, so we're going to have to do things a little different. And also, I did pull the tender trailer out and make sure everything was working on that, so we could use that today. I'm not real sure. It looks a little more interesting than I thought. We did even fix up like a little rubber nozzle for it, so it will reach all the way down to the planter boxes. But I don't know how we're going to get seed in the top hopper, because I don't know if the skid steer will actually reach up that high. Alright, we got the liquid fertilizer unloaded. It did not take all of it, so we can put this little 5% up in the shed. We can use it for when we bring the planter back to the farm, but we're going to have to go pick up some more from the co-op anyway. We're going to need to make another run and get some more seed and fertilizer, because 1 box is not going to cut it. Alright, there we go. It took almost all of this box. There's probably just like 3 bushels left in here, so we'll put this in the shed as well. We can use the last little bit of this when we have to refill the planter. But we're going to have to work on getting the nitrogen set up right, the rates coming out of the planter, both on seed and fertilizer. It's been a while since we've calibrated that planter, because that is the same one that we used in Alma. Alright, so everything looks good. Got the planter all filled up. I guess we can hit the road, and we're going to go all the way down to that new field, number 15, and then we can work our way just back towards the farm, because there is kind of a cut-through road. I'll show you guys whenever we get there and get done with this first field. But that dirt road that goes to field number 15, if you keep going, it actually comes out behind us. You can actually kind of see the road from here, or well, that's the train tracks, but way off in the distance down there, down the hill, that road actually does come to some of these fields at the back end of the farm. So that's pretty neat, not having to come all the way back up on this main road and coming in through the front entrance of the farm. That will definitely save a lot of time, and that was one thing I was kind of looking for, was a field a little bit closer to here. I didn't want to buy a field all the way on the other side of the map, so we're going to kind of buy some acres around the farm and then slowly branch out. I think it's probably going to be the best thing to do, because the fields on this map are pretty closely connected. A lot of them have field approaches that are between each other, kind of like some of our fields. So instead of having one approach on a main road, some of the fields are connected by one road, and then all the fields are connected to each other, if that kind of makes sense. I know on Alma it was not like that, so I never really had to run into this issue, but on Ray County that's a different story. So yeah, I want to try and buy fields that are a little closer together, so that's why I went with this area of the map. And also, while I'm down here, I guess I can check on the growing process of the hay. We should be able to get our first cutting off in May if everything goes right. If not, probably in June. and if we fertilize it and play our cards right, we should get a second cutting in maybe September. So looking forward to that. But yeah, you can see the field just right here over the dirt road. Alright, we got the GPS going, the planter's all unfolded, and I'm going to do something that I don't do often when I'm planting, just out of habit. I'm going to do the passes up and down the field first, and then we'll do the headland passes. I know it's going to make some of you guys pretty happy, because I have a bad habit that I've done for years to just plant the headlands first, because that gives me enough room to where I can see to turn around. But now that we have this GPS on FarmSim 25, I can actually see where the line ends, so I can see where to pick the planter up, and that's just a game changer for me, because that GPS in FarmSim 22 did not do that, and this is a lot more like it is in real life. So I can see when to pick the planter up, and I don't have to just kind of guess anymore. And a lot of times that mean I'd have to make a third headland pass or something. That just not fun. So this should be a whole lot better. And this right here is that dirt road I was talking about. If you keep following this dirt road up and to the right, it cuts back to the farm. So it's pretty sweet to have that. And there are some pretty large fields around here. A lot of them have some pretty big waterways as well. So this is a nice area to be looking at fields, and a lot of these have a very high yield expectation. And also, this is our new field. Like I said, this is field number 15, and you can see it is quite big. It has this nice rolling hill in the middle. Should be about 16 acres of actual farmable ground. The entire field was listed at 25 acres, or at least I think, because some of this field does kind of go over into the ditch and the road, I think. The property line should go all the way to this field over here, which is our new grass field. And this new hay field over here, which I will show off whenever it is time to cut the hay, it's kind of a more narrow field, but it does go on for quite a while. It's a little bit longer than the length of this field, because it does go back in this corner over here, but not by much. So it's a little 10-acre plot of land, I think. So we gained an extra 30 or 40 acres whenever we went into year 2, after buying all the fields. Now that is given that field we're renting as well. So if we're only counting land we own, we're currently running about 140 acres, I'm pretty sure is the right number, and it's like 156 or something with that field. So I did the math off camera whenever I was buying the fields, because I have been playing a good bit off camera these past couple weeks, doing obviously the rest of the wheat drilling, organizing the farm, and buying equipment and land and all that stuff. So have been playing off camera for a little bit, and I did the math. So we're farming a pretty good amount of acres for year 2 already. And so after buying all that equipment in the wintertime, those 2 trailers, I also picked up a header cart for the platform head. Now, I did not get a grain cart, and I did not get a 12-row corn head. I know I had talked about the grain cart for sure. I don't know if I mentioned the 12-row corn head, but I would like to pick up one of those. So in June, when we sell our corn, maybe that'll be whenever we pick up a grain cart and a corn head, because that'll be just in time for the wheat harvest, so we can use the grain cart, and then fall harvest, so we can use both the grain cart and the corn head. And I think putting front duals on this tractor would look awesome on a Kinsey grain cart, so that's kind of what I'm looking out for. I'd kind of like to have one with tracks, just to switch things up a little bit. And with how steep some of these hills are in these fields, it would really suck to have some really rough conditions in harvest and have a wheeled grain cart. So I've learned my lesson. Think I'm going to look for a grain cart with tracks. And also, one thing is for sure, I am absolutely digging this planting setup right here. I did enjoy that 8300 that we had in Alma on this planter, but this 8R it's looking great. And having all these new creature comforts is obviously a +1. So I've still got a ways to go on this field. We are really just getting started here. But I'm going to do the rest of this off camera, and I'll meet up with you guys whenever we're finishing up the headlands and wrapping everything up, because about that time, we're going to have to head down to the co-op and pick up some more seed. So I'll meet you guys whenever we're about done with this field. Alright, we're wrapping this field up. We're only down to 1 headland pass, and I gotta say, running the passes up and down the field and then doing the headlands last has honestly been pretty cool. I've enjoyed it in this field, and this is a field that I personally would not have done the passes up and down first because it's on like an angle. You'll see down here on the back side of the field, it's on like a really steep angle towards the tree line, and it makes it kind of awkward to turn around. But it's been pretty fun. I do like it actually. So I think I'm going to change my planting style and start doing just the passes up and down the field first. But we've been out here for about maybe an hour and a half, and we're already done with the field for the most part. So you kind of forget how easy you can just knock a field out with a 12-row planter. And we did this in a very short amount of time. But you can see we are running out of liquid fertilizer. There's still a lot of corn seed in the planter, but I will go and pick up some more just because we will need it. We have 3 more fields to plant, but we will make a trip down to the co-op to pick up some more fertilizer. So we'll head back to the farm whenever we finish this field up, and we'll bring the truck and trailer down to the co-op and we'll grab some more seed and fertilizer. I just hope we can finish the rest of this field up with the 3% we have in the tank, and it's dropping quick, which I guess I can lower how much nitrogen we're putting out. And for whatever reason, this part of the field right here, I must have done something wrong, or I don't really know why, but the nitrogen's already been applied right here, and it's in like the green, and I have not planted this field at all yet, and have not put any fertilizer or anything out. So there's a single pass all the way around the field that's green, so I'm not really sure what that's about. So I can just completely turn off putting out fertilizer, and we can make this last headland pass all the way around the field, because it does go around the entire field for the most part. So that's just really weird. I don't know why that's like that. But you can see we put out enough fertilizer to where, we put out enough nitrogen to where we'll only have to come back and make one more pass. Ever since I've been doing that, it's made putting out nitrogen way easier, doing 2 major passes throughout the year instead of putting it all out at one point. So we'll come back in probably June or July, and we'll bring the sprayer and put out some liquid fertilizer. So now we'll make this last turn right here. We can fold everything up and head back to the farm. We did make it all the way around the field with the fertilizer left in the tank, so that's pretty good to see. And also out here planting, one thing I did notice is this map is not the row crop system version. I just did not switch it over to the new version of the map when I had first created this challenge. I don't know if I had mentioned that or not, but I have people in the comments asking me if this is the row crop system version of the map. It is not, but I did notice that the multi-angle terrain is a lot more realistic on this map, if that's the way to put it. The rows are a lot more straight and follow the planter instead of just the jagged base game multi-angle terrain. So that's still pretty cool to see. But yeah, this is sadly not the row crop system version of this map. I have been wanting to use that for so long, and I think the row crop system actual mod as of now is not actually out to the public, or if it is, you may have to pay for it, or it could be in testing. I'm not real sure, but I would like to get my hands on that at some point and just try it out, because right now Ray County is the only map that I have that supports that, and that's just such a cool feature. I just know the times I have tried it has lagged my computer a good bit, so in the next series, if we decide to do row crop system, hopefully it doesn't do that, because that's such a game changer mod. But anyway, we got that field all finished up. That is the first field we've gotten done in spring of year 2. So we are now about 10% done with corn planting. We'll pack everything up and head back to the farm. Also, you can see the wheat out here across the road from the farm and the field right up at the farm. It's looking really good, but like I did say in the start of the video, we're going to have to bring the sprayer out and spray some herbicide, because there are some pretty large weeds growing, which I just can't understand, because we did do some deeper tillage with that anhydrous toolbar back in the fall. So I'm not real sure why there would be some pretty big weeds growing, because I guess that kind of the anhydrous is like a subsoiler in the game, is what it's kind of considered as. So I could see that as a way to eliminate weed growth. If that was a more shallower toolbar, or was considered like a shallow cultivator, we'd have more weeds. But I don't know, it's just kind of weird. And they're already too big to where we can't use like a weeder, so we're gonna have to spray herbicide, which just means more money coming out of our pocket, which just sucks. But we'll worry about that later. Well, actually, no, we need to worry about that right now, because I do need to pick up some herbicide while I'm down at the co-op. So I'm glad I mentioned that, because I had totally forgotten about that. but we'll just pull out of the farm, back the trailer up. We'll go straight down to the co-op. I have not checked to see if the co-op has fertilizer for sale in the game. I'm sure it should, but I haven't checked, like I said. So, and I also don't know about herbicides. So if we have to go and pick it up at the actual store over there down the road, we will. But I know there are pallets of seed, and I think we're going to pick up 2 more Pioneer Pro boxes, and we'll stick them in the shop in there under that loft, just to keep them in case we need them, because I don't know how much seed we'll run through. That planter doesn't really burn a bunch of seed, but I know the seed rates can change on the field we're planting in. So that first field didn't look too bad, but we could run into a field that needs to put out more seed. It's just how precision farming works. I know that's not the most realistic thing ever, but it's just how it is in the game. And I think I've talked about it already, but coming down here to the co-op, there's a really cool and unique feature when you're buying your seeds. You can actually open the garage door and hop in the seed shed and pick up pallets that will actually spawn down here. I don't know if the price is inflated or not down here, but you do have like a forklift you can load your trailers with on deck. I mean, it's right here, and it's really nice. I must have left the door open from that seed I bought this morning, but instead of just talking about it, I can actually hop out and show you guys. And then whenever we get some seed loaded up, I'll walk around the co-op and see if I can't find a way to buy herbicide and fertilizer. But as far as this building goes, you can walk over here to these doors, and there's a pallet shop and bagged products. So this is actual individual bags, so you can buy 10 bags at a time, and also mineral feed, and you can see that's pretty cheap, but they're very small bags. Or you can come over here and open the pallet shop, and okay, yeah, they have everything right here. This is everything we need. Obviously we don't need 10, but we can buy seeds, and yeah, that's pretty expensive, pretty realistic price. So we'll buy 2 of those. I think we need probably a container of herbicide, and we honestly probably need 2 barrels of liquid fertilizer, but that is just so expensive. So we'll just buy 1 for now, and I'm not real sure what we're gonna have to do when we get more. We're gonna have to probably sell some corn before we pick up any more fertilizer seeds, because this is gonna make me go broke. So then after they've spawned, you can come over here and hop in this forklift and you can move them, which I think is just so cool. And this forklift does stay at the co-op, and it makes things so much easier. So I think to balance the weight on the trailer, I'm going to put the seed boxes towards the front, and I'll put the fertilizer and herbicide at the back of the trailer, because you know we can't put anything in between the fenders. There's no straps, or well, there's no points to tie the straps off, so we're going to have to load everything at the front and the back, which I don't think should be a huge problem. One thing I am noticing is these Pro boxes have no lids, so we may lose some seed on the way back to the farm. Alright, there's both the boxes of seed on there. We'll go and grab the herbicide and liquid fertilizer, and we don't really have a lot of room to work with on the back of that trailer, so we're going to have to be very careful loading these up, but I think I've got it. I'm a pretty skilled forklift operator. Okay, well, we got everything on the trailer. That is most likely not going to be fun unloading all that, but I guess we'll figure it out when we get back to the farm. For now, we can put everything up at the co-op and head on back that way. Alright, well, everything on the trailer made it back to the farm in one piece. So now we can unload probably just the fertilizer and herbicide, because I will leave the seed on there for right now. We don't need it. The planter still got, I think, like 80% of the seed we put in there originally, so that's actually pretty cool to see. I just, like I said, wanted to buy some more seed in case we needed it, but I don't know if we will. Alright, we got the herbicide put up in the shop, but I'm going to pull the fertilizer off the trailer, and I'm just going to put it straight in the planter, and we'll head down to our next field, which is going to be at the bottom of the farm over there where we planted that last field of wheat. Well, actually, before we use what's in this container, I want to put this out of the way and grab that little bit that we had left in this other container, as well as the seeds. So I want to just go ahead and fill really top the planter off with what we have over here before we start emptying the other containers we just picked up, just to kind of save some room, because I don't want a bunch of half-empty seed boxes sitting around everywhere. Alright, we got all the chemical and seed loaded up in the planter. We can hit the road and head on down to our next field. Well, actually, we've got 2 or 3 more fields to go to, so we'll just kind of work the line and head on back to the farm this way as we get them done. So we're going to be starting down here. These 2 fields, This one that we're in right now and then the one to the right of me over here will both be going in corn. These were soybean fields last year, and the way the crop rotation is working is they will be corn this year, and hopefully we'll get a chance to plant some winter wheat on them next year, as long as the crop rotation works like I want it to with the double crop soybeans. But these fields will most likely stay the same crop each year. And I was kind of looking at this field and I was thinking, I would like to combine them because of how close they are together. The only thing really separating them is this waterway, and then there's a tiny little field approach right here like I was talking about earlier. But I was kind of looking at it, and this field is on a huge hill. Like, it just all goes down to this bottom corner. And having this waterway here is going to be nice to stop some of that erosion from just rainwater really washing down this hill. So I think if we ever do combine these fields, I just plant across this waterway, because that is a pretty long distance just across, and that just seems like something I would do. And so this right here is field number 2 and 3, and then we have that big field out in front of the house. That's also going to be going in corn. But this field directly behind the farm, it's kind of hard to see. It's just over that third waterway right there. That'll be going in soybeans, as well as the field over from that as well, the one kind of next to that pond. So it's going to be in this order. If you look all the way over from the tree line over, it's going to be corn, soybean, soybeans. So that's actually pretty easy to keep track of. And I know the corn is going to do really good next year, but I'm really excited to see how the soybeans are going to turn out, because they did awesome this past fall. It's going to be really telling to see if they will do good on different soil types and different fields, because I don't know what crop rotation it should be in, because I think the farmer previous had done a lot of corn on corn, and I don't know how great that is for the area. So switching it up, doing corn, soybeans, and then also throwing some wheat in there should change some things for sure. And I was really thinking about planting some oats. That's just something I really want to get into. So I think either later into this year or next year, year 3, whenever we decide to do it. I just can't remember if oats are a spring or like a fall crop. I'll actually look in just one second and tell you for sure whenever I get turned around. Okay, so oats are a spring crop, and then you harvest it in July and August, and that would line up perfect with soybeans if we play our cards right. So I'm thinking next spring, because, oh man, that seems like a long time away, but I want to get into some oats. That just would totally reset the crop rotation, and obviously we could do like a double crop with soybeans, and that could honestly do really good, because oats for some reason sell way more than barley and way more than wheat, and it's just a totally different seasonal crop, and I do like my cereals, so that could be something I would really want to get into. Also, I did just check the forecast, and we have rain coming in the next hour. I know that I said we had rain on April 3rd, so we had 2 days to get all of our planting done before it was like a washout into May, but it's looking like that's changing a little bit. So less rain on April 3rd, more rain coming on April 2nd and today. So we've got another hour or so we can keep planting before it looks like we're going to be rained out. So what I think I'm going to do is finish this field up and try my best to get this one done, and then break out the sprayer, fill it up, and start spraying right before it rains, because that should work that into the ground a little bit. At least that's the hope. So I'm going to do something that I have never done on this channel ever, I don't think, and I'm going to do a little montage to finish up these 2 fields planting, and whenever we get that done, obviously we'll hop in the sprayer and start spraying some herbicide. So with all that being said, let's cue the montage and finish these fields up. Alright, so we got both of those fields finished, and the rain is on the way. It's going to be here in about 30 minutes. So as we get into around 6 o'clock, it should be just a pretty steady downpour. It's going to rain the rest of the afternoon, like the evening into the night, and probably most of tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is park the planter, and we've pulled the sprayer out of the shed, hooked it up to the Magnum, and we're going to put a little bit of herbicide on our fields of wheat. Now, what I would hope this can do is apply the herbicide, and hopefully I haven't waited too late, because this should just soak it all in, and it should do a better job of affecting the weeds. At least that's what I want it to do. And also, that single tank of herbicide that we did buy has only given us about 44% to work with, so we've got to spray herbicide on around 3 fields, and we got to use every bit of it, because I don't want to go and buy another $3,000 tank of herbicide. But this first field right here is already done. It's not a very big field by any means, and this sprayer is huge. So we're gonna fold everything up, and I think we'll head all the way down to the field at the very corner of the farm, down here by the railroad tracks, really where we just came from planting all that corn. And you can see these fields did turn out really nice. I'm hoping that montage is going to look pretty sweet, because like I said, I've never done one of those ever on the channel. I used to do them when I posted a lot of those YouTube shorts, but it's been a while since I've done any of that, and I'd like to kind of get back into that, but I've never done one in like a long form video, so I'm pretty excited to see how that's going to turn out. But yeah, these fields did do pretty good. You can see I still did the passes up and down the field, and then did the headlands after, so it looks all nice. And we got them done in about 2 hours, and we did not run out of fertilizer either, so that's a win in my book. But this down here is our second field of wheat. Just these fields are not very big. The fields that we did decide to drill wheat on just were not our biggest fields for whatever reason. This is honestly probably the largest of the 3, but this one and the other one I still kind of consider like medium sized, but they're about 15 acres each, except for that field right out in front of the farm. That one's about an 8-acre field, so we should have around 45 or so acres of wheat to harvest. That math may not be spot on. I'm trying to get the sprayer all dialed in real quick. I'm not great at multitasking, but I'm trying to hurry and spray all this as fast as I can, because I want to get it at least on the field before it starts raining, and I feel like we're going to get rained out. And according to what the forecast is saying, it's supposed to just drop at one point. It's not going to like slowly drizzle. The hammer's going to drop on us, so we need to hurry up and get this on the field. And we should use just about all of this in the sprayer, and we may even have some more left over that we can keep in the sprayer and use on our corn or soybeans, because it's really not putting out as much as I thought it would, so that's actually really nice. It keeps me with more money in my pocket, because we need to hold on to this $20,000 until about, I guess, June, because that's when we will start selling our corn, and seed prices and stuff are just no joke, so we gotta use it sparingly. Okay, well, we got that field finished up, but it has started raining. We did like one more pass up the field, and I saw it starting to sprinkle, and I looked to my left and I saw it coming over the hill. So yeah, it's starting to pour too. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do this for much longer. You can already see the ground starting to get pretty wet, so we're gonna fly on over to this next field and see if we can't get it all sprayed. We should be able to. This tractor should have no problem pulling the sprayer out of the mud if it does get stuck. And also, looking at the forecast up there, it says that it's supposed to be hailing here whenever the rain starts to go away. Or, well, I guess it'll turn from rain into hail. And it is 49 degrees outside, so that does make a little bit of sense, but I don't know why. I guess we're having a pretty big like storm spell right now. Could be a thunderstorm passing through, but I guess it was just supposed to be like a rain shower. I don't know what's wrong with the models. Everything seems to be changing. The water's already puddled up in the road, so we got to hurry up and get into this field and get out. I do not want to make a bunch of ruts all in the wheat crop. Alright, let's give this a shot. Hopefully we won't be just wasting herbicide, because I've kind of always thought that if you spray herbicide when it's raining, it'll just kind of soak in. I hope I'm not thinking it'll be the opposite and it'll just wash it off the crop, because these weeds are pretty big, and they will spread throughout summer as it rolls around and gets kind of hot and humid outside. So we need to stop the weeds from growing as soon as possible, and this looks like the best way. Oh man, you can already see the mud caking up in the sprayer tires and all over the tractor too. So Oh man, this is gonna be it's gonna be fun to wash off with the pressure washer when the rain goes away. But I guess we did need this rain a lot. I feel like it's been pretty dry around the farm these last couple months. And the last time we had a lot of rain come through was all the way back in October during harvest season. Because I remember us being delayed from corn harvest because of how wet it was. We had rain come around off and on for like 3 days. And then in the wintertime, we did get a good bit of snow, which I totally forgot to talk about that. We got about, I think, 8 inches of snow spread across 2 days. It was really like 9 inches in total, but we had like a dusting one day and then it picked up overnight. But yeah, that was like really dry, powdery snow. So we haven't had a lot of rain at all, like recently. And even in like January, February, March, nothing. So this is the first like spring shower we've had in a while. But I think that right there is just gonna do it. I want to say we did this in perfect timing. I guess we'll be able to find out in a couple days to see if the weeds are going to start dying or if they will not. If they don't start dying, I think I know what the problem is. It's because we had a bunch of rain and it washed all that herbicide away. But I'm thinking it's going to work. I have high expectations for this. But I'm going to end the episode right here. In the next episode, we should be able to finish up all of our planting. It kind of came to a quick end in this episode, but we'll finish up our corn and plant all of our soybeans in the next one. And we should also be able to get into some hay work. I'd like to pick up some cattle and make and bale some hay. So that's a little bit of a future outlook for you all. But as for this episode, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.